My definition of the carnivore diet is the elimination of processed foods, the elimination of anything that has not come from an animal. I started feeling better within days. It was probably about a month and a half, 2 months that I realized, hey, wait a second, I don't have to run to the bathroom anymore.
All right, welcome back, everybody. This is Ryan Diener with Holistic Health Associates, our series of networking with high-quality healthcare professionals in the area. And I am super excited for my first time to be talking with Bronson Dant, who is a personal trainer and a nutritional expert in the Ellicott City, Maryland area. We were introduced just recently, and so this is going to be a fun conversation. Bronson has a training app called the Apex Training System, which you should definitely check out. He does virtual coaching, and he can walk you through a 6-month program at home. It is awesome. So we'll talk more about that as we get towards the end. But we're gonna, with Bronson has an amazing history. He was in the military for 17 years. He has been a personal trainer. He owned a CrossFit gym starting in 2014. He has been a carnivore diet aficionado and has been actively involved with that for the last 4 years, and is 50 years old and looks 40. So that's a good sign right there. So I think we will have a lot to talk about. So thank you so much for being here, Bronson. I really appreciate it.
Hey, appreciate it. That was a heck of an intro. I've never been called a high quality person before. That's kind of high quality. It reminds me of the water boy, right? High quality H2O.
I'm raising your standard, man. You gotta live up to it now.
All right. So thanks for having me on. I really appreciate it. Look forward to the talk.
Yeah, me too. Very good. Very good. So anybody who's listening, please make sure to like, comment, share this video. Can't wait to continue to grow and be able to offer more conversations like this with really high quality people like Brian. So we could talk about a lot of different stuff, and we can talk about movement, we can talk about exercise and the different theories and philosophies as to why different forms of exercise work. But a really hot topic right now is in the nutrition world. And I know that you have gone through keto, the keto diet. You're currently 4 years in carnivore. We just came off of a detox program at HHA where we meat is included, but it is much more of a balanced approach. Whole grains are included, fruits, vegetables. There's just the obvious refined things that are left out. So I think I would love to just chat with you a little bit about the carnivore craze and kind of how this has affected you in your life and why you ended up on this plan, and then we can kind of bounce some ideas back and forth and go from there.
Yeah. Okay. Gosh, so I guess starting with why am I a carnivore?
Well, let's start with what is it first. Sorry. So
what is it?
There's a lot of people that won't know what it is.
Yeah.
And so if you could just talk about what is a carnivore diet, and then that'll be awesome.
So before we talk, so talking about defining a diet, first of all, everyone needs to understand that everyone has a different definition. So what I'm going to tell you a carnivore diet is may be different than what you get if you Google it or if you talk to somebody, or the definition, just like the definition of keto, there's probably 8 million different definitions of the keto diet. Okay. Or there's the variations or the types of paleo, or there's the types of vegetarian, right? There's just so many different things out there. So just take everything with, this is how I interpret it, and this is how I follow this is what I do. Basically, my definition of the carnivore diet is the elimination of processed foods, the elimination of anything that has not come from an animal. That's it. So meat, muscle meat, organ meat, eggs. Every once in a while I do dairy, but I really don't. The only dairy that I do consistently is butter. But as far as cheese and milk and cream and things like that, I could do those. They're from animals technically. I don't do those just because dairy in and of itself can be an issue, and sometimes it messes me up, and not as much as it used to. Being carnivore has fixed any lactose intolerance issues that I've had in the past. from a discomfort and a disruption to my lifestyle perspective. But I do find that overall my metabolic function decreases when I do dairy consistently. Like if I have cheese once or twice a week, not a big deal. But if I go for 2 or 3 weeks where I have cheese 3, 4, 5 times a week, then I start feeling sluggish. I just don't have I kind of lose it. So I don't do a lot of dairy. But yeah, that's it. Carnivore diet is pretty much if it comes from an animal, then I eat it.
So how did you end up here? So obviously this wasn't the first diet you tried, but how did you get to this? And
I've tried them all. I've tried them all. Yeah, most people know it's kind of funny, right? Nobody's ever just tried one thing. We've all tried a bazillion different things to try and change our appearance, change our health, change how we feel about ourselves, whatever it is. I actually heard about it in May of 2000, well, right before May, in April of 2018. And so my history, the things I was dealing with at the time was mostly gut issues, IBS, irritable bowel syndrome, I'll just call it spontaneous bowel issues, and just generally my life revolved. Literally, I couldn't make decisions about where I was going, when I was going, how I was getting there, what I was doing in the day, what my schedule was during the week, because everything literally revolved around: would I have access to a bathroom? How long would I be away from a bathroom? If I wasn't near a bathroom, what other options did I have? Like, it was bad. And it was to that point where, this may be something we talked about earlier, but I'd been dealing with it for so long that it wasn't until I didn't have to deal with it that I realized how disruptive it was in my life. So that's the really thing. Like, the first thing is I didn't realize that it was that big of an issue. Yeah, I realized, okay, it's really kind of annoying. Sometimes I go to the bathroom a lot, but maybe changing and taking all this stuff out, because I looked at it initially as an elimination diet. Like, okay, if I take all this stuff out, these guys that I'm listening to are saying that really we don't need all this stuff anyways. We just need meat. I love eating meat. I eat veggies because I'm told to eat them. I don't necessarily feel like I want to eat them all the time. So this is kind of cool. So I did. I just decided on May 1st, 2018 to just cut everything out. Whatever meat I had in the fridge, I ate that until it was gone. And then I went to the store and got more. And I haven't looked back. I started feeling better within days. It was probably about a month and a half, 2 months that I realized, hey, wait a second, I don't have to run to the bathroom anymore. I was still in the habit of doing all the things to prepare in case I had a bathroom issue. And then I started realizing, like, I'm doing all these things, but it's never happening. Like, normally I do these things, and 1 out of 2 or 3 times I need to use them, as a schedule thing, or make sure that I got toilet paper in the trunk, or make, like, just whatever it is. And then I realized, like, hey, wait a second, I'm not executing. I'm putting all these plans in place just in case, and I'm never having to realize any of it.
Yeah. And what had you tried before carnivore? Like, specifically as it relates to the bowel and gut issues that you were dealing with, that wouldn't be, for most people, their first, go like, I'm just going to switch to carnivore. So what did you do kind of leading up to that?
Yeah, I tried. I mean, I did the gamut, and this is something that I see pretty consistently as people improve and progress through their journey of health. They start somewhere and then kind of work towards this direction. I started with, like, the first thing that I did years ago when I first said, hey, I need to get in shape. I need to change my life. The first thing I did was stop eating French fries. Woohoo! That took me a year. Just to stop eating French fries took me a year. And then I went from there, and slowly, little things here and there, moved more towards whole foods. So I moved more towards the whole foods kind of methodology. Then I kind of got a little less lax, or a little less strict, and kind of a little more lax, went more paleo, kind of got into, then I started doing sugar detox, which wasn't that bad because I was already pretty much all whole foods, pretty much didn't eat anything that had added sugar. I'm not a sweets guy. So the sugar detox part was pretty easy. The thing that I stopped on the sugar detox was alcohol. So I went for 3 weeks. I did a 21-day sugar detox, and This definitely had some benefit to my gut issues and that stuff, but didn't completely fix it. What it did help was just my metabolic function. In 21 days, the only thing I did, it still boggles my mind when I say this. I didn't change my meals. I didn't change what I ate. I didn't change anything I was doing exercise or fitness wise. I just stopped. So I was in the habit of drinking a glass of whiskey 3 to 4 nights a week. I'd come home, eat dinner, have some whiskey, chill out, watch some TV, get ready to go to bed. That was kind of my routine. I just stopped the whiskey 3 to 4 nights a week. Okay. And honestly, it might have been 4 to 5 nights a week. Just stopping that for 3 weeks, just 3 weeks, I lost 10 pounds of fat. Okay. Not 10 pounds of weight, because I do body composition scans. So I was on a scanner. I could see my muscle mass, my lean mass, my body fat mass. The only thing that changed was my body fat mass by 10 pounds in 21 days just from stopping alcohol. And that's really what made me go, wait, okay. So there's this thing that if I put things in my mouth, they affect my body, right? It's like, duh. It kind of made me really want to dig into, because I'm an engineer by trade. So it kind of really made me want to dig into the why and understand the how and like what made that happen. And then around that time is when I heard about the carnivore diet, and that just kind of took it to the next level. And so then I jumped into that.
Yeah, interesting. We just did, so I was just referencing a detox that we just did, which is basically what you just described. It's all whole foods. There are some things that are allowed as it relates to some processed things, but it's better substitutions. So it's like you take out white flour, but you can have almond flour. You take out, so it's kind of like on that trajectory, sure, where you were talking about the sugar detox. You cut out alcohol, you cut out caffeine, you cut out, any kind of added sugars, and people have massive improvements. I mean, massive. We had people, losing weight, dropping blood pressure, dropping, inflammatory markers that have been part of their blood work for, decades. And that is just one level of what you're talking about. Now you're talking about cutting a whole slew of other things out and just eating meat. And so, or animal products. And so some of the things that people talk about as it relates to carnivore or even keto is that you have the possibility, so constipation can be an issue for people. So clearly you had the opposite effect. You had bowel issues prior and you had no bowel issues during, and so that's one. Have you seen that as a con for some people that have gone this direction, or not really?
Yeah, it's going to be either or both. So the constipation issue has nothing to do with the macronutrient profile. It has everything to do with the micronutrient profile and minerals. So if you're constipated, you're not getting enough. And it's kind of crazy. Basically, constipation or diarrhea, having to go too often, too much. Both of them can be symptoms of an electrolyte imbalance. Mm-hmm. So getting enough sodium, potassium, magnesium, all these zinc, all these things, particularly, and here's the thing, particularly if you're cutting out processed foods, carbs, and things like that, your body will flush these out more. So it's important to increase how much you're getting. And most people don't get enough. Mm-hmm. So the number one thing, if you're going keto, if you're going carnivore, the number one thing that you can do from a feeling, from a constipation or just from bowel movements in general perspective, is get more electrolytes, particularly magnesium. And you shouldn't have those issues. Sometimes it takes people a couple of days, maybe a week to kind of find that balance, but usually it's not long term.
And are you doing that specifically through adjustments in your food base, in the foods items that you're eating, micronutrients, or supplementation as well?
No. And I want everybody to be very clear on this one. No matter what diet, program, lifestyle, whatever you want to call it, nutritional philosophy that you want to follow, you need to supplement with electrolytes. Flat. Okay. So there is nothing that we're going to get in the food that we eat today that has enough.
Yeah.
Okay. Because traditionally, if we look back go back hundreds of thousands of years, right? The food that they were eating was mostly animal based. Blood animal blood was part of the diet, right? How many minerals and salt and sodium and potassium and all that kind of stuff is in actual animal blood? Organ meat was much higher on the scale of importance for eating that stuff back then. If you go take it a step further and you look at what was in the water, right now, most of the water that we drink is completely devoid of any health benefits. So if you're drinking water now and thinking I need to get my 8 ounces of water a day, what you're actually doing, unless you're adding electrolytes to that water, what you're actually doing is diluting the electrolytes you have in your body, and you're having the opposite effect of what the water traditionally, naturally, primally is supposed to be doing for us.
Yeah. So let me ask you this. So, you know, I don't want to stray too far off a carnivore for this video,
Sure.
but this is really interesting. This is a really interesting piece, and it's important because supplementation, you know, we actually promote the similar thing. So we believe that supplementation should be included no matter what diet you're on. There's just not enough nutrients in the soil if you're eating soil-based foods.
Yep.
And there's not enough nutrients in the feed for the animals that you're eating, even if you're getting organic, you know, beef and things like that. There's just the profile is limited compared to what it used to be. So define electrolytes. So you're putting what in different water for people that don't.
Yeah. So there's 1 or 2 products that I recommend. One is Drink Element, Drink LMNT. I don't know if you've heard of them. To me, I do 4 packets. So 1 packet is like 1,000 milligrams of sodium, 200 milligrams of potassium, and then 3 or 4 other minerals and micronutrients. And then I do 4 of those a day. So that's a minimum. So I do 4 of those a day. I also do, I don't know if you've heard of Redmond Real Salt. They're like the best. So Redmond Real Salt is a US company. They actually have a salt mine in Utah where they mine the salt and they ship it out all over the place. You can get it at Sprouts, you can get it online, but they have salt, they have flavored salts, they got spices, they got all kinds of stuff. And I do 11 grams of salt a day. So my profile just for sodium is 10 to 11 grams of sodium per day, which everybody's like, what? The RDA is only 3.5, you know? Well, yes, then the RDA is way low and you probably should be getting more. So actually, I think the RDA is like 2.5 or 3 right now.
Yeah, I think it's around 3. Yeah.
So so that's what I do. I add, you know, and then I also do, so I'm a big fan of organ meat. But I can't stand most organ meat. The way it tastes, especially liver. So liver's the best as far as the total profile, beef liver. But I do beef liver capsules. So I order capsules. They're basically dried liver. They put it in a little capsule. I do a couple capsules a day. That's kind of like my multivitamin. And then I also do eggs. So honestly, between the electrolytes, the beef liver capsules that I do, if you like beef liver, eat beef liver. That's perfect. A lot of people like liver and onions or whatever else. I'm not one of those people. And then eggs. Between those 3 things, just those 3 things, you're getting everything that you need.
And the people who are critics that talk about cardiovascular risk with that level of sodium, and you know, what is your response to cardiovascular risk, high blood pressure, you know, those kinds of things?
Look at new science. There's tons of data out there. There's so much data out there that's been done in the past 10 years that completely just obliterates anything and everything that we've ever been told about cholesterol, cardiovascular disease, hypertension, you name it. Anything that is labeled metabolic syndrome that has been tied to salt or fat pretty much has completely been obliterated and is not, we know now that none of that is true. Yeah, it all has to do with carbohydrates, seed oils, and processed food.
Yeah, it's a hard conversation that we have to have with people all the time around sodium, because it's like, yeah, okay, table salt, you know, typical, like if you're going to a restaurant and you see a thing with white powder in it and you put that on your food, that has a lot of negative health consequences.
Sure.
But what we're talking about is good quality sea salt or something, you know, or mine salt or something that has actual minerals in it that are really high quality that your body needs. And so, you know, we add, you know, we use salt and I mean, we're still eating fruits and vegetables in our household. So we use lemon and salt in our water, you know, when we do it. And it does make a huge difference. And we see so many people that drink a lot of water and just pee it right out and can't figure out why their skin's still dry and why they're still dehydrated. And obviously that makes no sense, but your body can't use water unless it is also balancing it out with the right amount of salt. And so it's a very important piece that I think is under conversated in, or underspoken about when it comes to
the importance of salt is just so under I don't even know what the word is, under publicized. So people don't understand why salt is important. I don't think until I started researching it, I didn't even know salt was important, much less why it was important.
Yeah.
So just understanding that it's a precursor for hydrochloric acid, like your body can't digest food if you're not eating salt.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
What are you talking about? You know, hormones, you need it for hormones, you need it for energy transfer. Your body, it's the founding structure of neurons in the body. So when your body's trying to move, you need salt, and you need sodium, not salt, you need sodium to enable energy to flow through your body. So there's so many different things that it's used for in our hormones and biology of our body. It's essential. It's absolutely essential.
Yeah, fantastic. So for those of you that are listening, the word electrolyte doesn't mean Gatorade. It means like making sure that the right minerals are inside, you're getting the right minerals in your water, and you're adding the right things that are really natural in base. And we all see, the Super Bowl, and they're getting the Gatorade dump, and those of us that are in the health field are like cringe at what's
every single time.
It's just I see, so good. So let me go back to the carnivore for a second. Sure. What about so again, I'm just going to go through, because there's a lot of obvious people that are going to listen to this and go like, that sounds crazy, right? You're cutting out all vegetables, you're cutting out all fruit, so you get, the fiber, content, count is low. How is this possible that this is possibly going to work? So talk about the fruits and vegetables piece now, because we promote a high fruit and vegetable diet for a lot of people, because most of what we see is a lot of refined foods in people's diets. And so being able to get people to cut out the refined foods and add whole foods is a really important step. Why is that not necessary for you when you get into carnivore?
Well, so here's the thing. It's not necessary for anybody. And that's the thing that it's really cool to understand is fruits and vegetables are not needed. They're not essential. There's no requirement for the human body, any human body, to ingest them. Now, here's the thing. That doesn't mean you have to cut them out. Okay, because you said the word earlier, you said trajectory. The trajectory of somebody's journey is different. Everybody starts in a different place. We're all trying to go to the same place, though, and that's important to understand. We're all trying to get to optimal health. Okay, so if we define optimal health by the things that our body needs, the things that the human body needs to survive and thrive, the things that the human body doesn't need to survive and thrive, then we're talking about we need protein, we need fat, we need electrolytes. Proper human diet does not require carbohydrates or fiber. Now, where people are coming from, and we talk about the move from processed foods to unprocessed foods to a better quality of foods, or poor quality foods to better quality of foods, what we focus on is three things. We focus on nutrient density. That's the number one thing. If you don't get the nutrients in the food, then you're missing out. Your nutrient density, your bioavailability. So not only does the food need to be highly nutritious, but it also needs to be absorbable and usable by your body. Okay. And then the third one is satiety. I need to be able to eat and let my hormones in my body help me manage how much I'm eating so that I don't overeat. Okay. The further you get towards the processed foods and the bad food quality, the further away you get from those three core philosophies around health and nutrition. Where someone is on that journey is going to kind of determine what works for them, because we're talking about improving from where you are. So then the phrase minimal dose required comes into play. So for me, where I was at along my journey, I did a change. I did include some carbs. I did go whole foods, but I was still having issues. Then I went the next step and I was still having issues. And I went the next step and then my issues went away. Okay. Where someone feels like they're making an improvement in their quality of life is as far as they need to go.
Right.
right? And that's where what I think people confuse the term bio-individuality with where I need to be right now to feel better, where I need to be right now to be healthy. It's not that you're individual, your biology works the same as everybody else's. We all bleed red, we all have hearts, we all have muscles, we all process ATP the same way, right? All that stuff is the same. Where you are in your experience, your current level of health, your current metabolic health, your current lifestyle, what you expect, your mindset around food. There's so many different layers to the individuality piece. Individuality definitely is a play, but it's not bio individuality, it's a lifestyle individuality.
Can you be a healthy vegan?
You can be a healthy vegan. Your lifestyle is going to be focused on maintaining that status at the cost of other things that most people would want to include in their quality of life.
For example,
not having to worry about being a chemist in order to maintain your routine.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
To be a vegan, I mean, to be a very healthy vegan and get everything that you need just from plant-based sources, you almost need a degree in chemistry to put all of the things together and to make sure you're getting all your sources from all the combinations of things and the supplements you need and all. Like, our bodies are designed to work that way. So we have to do X times extra work to make that lifestyle actually be effective and sustainable.
And
not saying it can't happen, but it takes a lot of work.
So then kind of following up from that is there's a concept of called metabolic typing, where there's, different levels on a scale between veganism and carnivore. And then let's say, different levels along the way. Do you believe that people can fall into different categories from their own individual metabolic type, or do you believe that this is more of a linear progression towards the highest quality of being carnivore?
Yeah. If you are searching for optimal health and quality of life, and you are willing to consistently evaluate where you are and how you're performing and what your metabolic health is, and let's just say we completely eliminate any lifestyle factors, foods that you like, things that you do, enjoyment of food, if you take all that stuff out of the picture and you're shooting for optimal, the proper human diet, the optimal way to eat, it is going to be 70 to 80 to 90% animal meat and nothing else.
Interesting.
Right. And obligate, the definition of, and here's the thing, and here's another takeaway, which could muddy the whole waters, is an obligate carnivore is defined by 70% animal meat. So even lions every once in a while eat some grass or something, right? So I'm not saying that you never will do it, but the focus of what you're trying to do is going to be meat-based.
It's interesting.
Absolutely.
So what's your cheat? What's your 20 to 30% that's not animal protein?
Yeah, right now I don't have one. I'm actually personally, because of what I do and where I'm at in the space as a coach and the things that I'm working with, the programs I'm working with, I do a lot of experimentation on myself. So I'm actually doing a program right now. I'm doing an 8-month body recomposition. So I'm on a very strict protocol right now. So I don't have anything. I'm solid meat and eggs until the end of May. Now, when I get off of that and I'm kind of back into my normal routine, I love Ben and Jerry's. Yeah. Ben and Jerry's is my jam. Yeah. So that's probably it. So, and I don't, even when it comes to veggies and other stuff, there may be like once every 6 months, I may do like a mitza, which is basically a chicken that's food processed with cheese. You flatten it out, you make it like a crust, and then some tomato sauce with cheese and pepperoni, like you make a pizza. So the tomato sauce that would go on that might be the most I'll have of veggies in a year. Yeah. Ever. Yeah. Wow. I just don't do it. Yeah. No desire.
Yeah. It's super interesting. One last question about this. What do you say to people who say, I went, carnivore, or in old school, Atkins, kind of people and that kind of thing. And I had a lot of problems with it. It didn't work for me. I had gut issues. I had, felt sluggish. Because we've heard that too, where,
Yeah.
so does that go back to your previous comment about the micronutrients and making, and you would say that it wasn't the diet, it was not getting enough electrolytes? Is that what you would?
Yeah, it's usually execution, because I've never heard anybody that did it right that had a problem. So the things that people mix up. Keto is not a calorie restriction diet. So you don't cut out carbs and then don't replace that with something else. Okay. So number one, if you're doing keto or low carb, you need to replace it with fat and more protein, primarily protein. Okay. Number one, because protein provides less energy per calorie, but more nutrients per calorie than fat. Okay. And you want as much nutrients as possible. So if you're not feeling well, it's because you're under nutrition, right? You're malnutrition. Eat more protein. And most people don't get enough protein to begin with. So eat more protein. Eat more protein. If there's one thing I want anybody to get out of this conversation is you need to eat more protein. Okay. The recommended daily allowance for protein is about 30 to 80% short of what it should be. So double it and you'll be good. And then not getting enough electrolytes is another one. So most people make the transition. They don't eat enough in general because they cut out carbs and forget to replace it with something, and they don't increase their electrolytes. So that messes up their digestion, their bowels. It drops their energy level. There's a bunch of stuff that happens, and it just kind of throws everything out of whack.
Yeah, cool. It's super interesting. I mean, we just, like I said, we just came off of a program that was really focused on moderation, and making sure that people are getting vegetables, they're getting fruit, they're getting nuts, they're getting, meat, good quality meats, and, and they're cutting out the refined foods. And, I find that for me personally, that's still valuable. I still get a lot of value from that. And so, but, to be fair, I've never actually tried carnivore. I've tried vegan, it doesn't work for me. I've tried, I've tried keto. I've tried, Atkins back in the day, 15 years ago, 20 years ago, for me, I've always found that finding that right balance of looking at nutrients through food and getting supplements on top of that is still much more interesting to me. And looking at the different, the color variations and how even the colors affect your body. And look, there's so many theories on nutrition and diet. That's the thing that's so interesting. There's so many things that come and go. There's so many things that that over the years and over the decades we know have kind of come into fad and then out of fad. The one thing that we know for certain, at least from my research, is that good quality food is the key to everything. Good quality meat, good quality supplements, good quality minerals, good quality vegetables if you're eating them, good quality fruits if you're eating them, good quality nuts if you're eating them. Those are all the keys, and what's interesting about this conversation is you're hearing from somebody who did all that and still found that they're doing immensely better, literally by doing something that for decades we've all been told is completely crazy and you would never want to do. So it's awesome to hear it, and it's awesome to keep it on people's table and on their radar as an option. If other things are not working, there are other options,
Well, if you really want to think about this, I mean, this is the oldest diet in human history.
Well, let me ask you this. So yes, and right. So the oldest diet is the hunter-gatherer. Some people were hunting, some people were gathering, right? And traditionally, we know that there's some history around who could hunt, who couldn't hunt, and we put it into gender categories. Sometimes we put it into weak, people that were more weak in a tribe versus people that weren't. There was always you could always get rodents. There was always something that you could hunt. But there was also a gathering component where you were eating things off of vines and bushes. So how do you see the difference there?
Yeah, I think the phrase has been overused to the point where we don't really know what it even means anymore. The primary source of food, regardless of how you want to classify the socioeconomic structure, the primary source of food for centuries was animal meat. Period.
Yeah.
Okay, some people might have gathered, and seasonally they may have gotten some berries or whatever. That's great. The primary source of food, the way that the human body is designed as an apex predator. We can't say that we're the apex predator and then we spend all of our resources cutting grass. Like, it just doesn't work that way. So the primary source of food. And if you look back at, you said something a second ago that I wanted to key on, and I totally forgot what it was. The idea that things come in and out, right? So the reason I said it's the oldest diet in human history is because, number one, it is, but number two, we forget our own history, right? So if you look back at, you know what a Salisbury steak is, right?
Yeah.
Salisbury was renamed. It went through a bunch of different things, but basically the Salisbury steak came from a doctor, Salisbury, in the mid 1800s, who wrote a book called The Alimentation of Disease. And in that book, he described, he didn't write that book. He wrote it. There's two books that happened in mid 1800s. I always get the two of them mixed up. There's The Alimentation of Disease, and there's another one that he wrote. Basically, he described his protocol for getting people off what they called at the time sugar sickness, which we now call diabetes. Okay, he was healing people from diabetes in the mid 1800s by telling them to eat stewed meat and nothing else. Right, so he was putting people on the carnivore diet in the mid 1800s as a cure for insulin resistance. Okay, and then we go from there to all the stuff that happens now, and we don't want to talk about all of the stuff that happened in the 40s, 50s, and 60s, which is why we are where we are today. But we forget, like, people don't know there's actually history. There's hundreds of years of history just in this country about eating meat and the importance of meat in our diet.
Yeah. And yeah, I mean, that's a whole nother, we could riff on that for a long time, I'm sure.
Oh, yeah.
This is, for time purposes, I'm gonna kind of wrap it, but I think takeaway for me, and the takeaway for, I think, those people that can be listening to this, is that there are, there are things out there that you haven't looked into that sound crazy when you first go to do it, that can be a really good option for you to help yourself, to help your body heal, to get you to a more optimal place. And, don't be afraid to try things that, you think sound crazy, because the reality is, when you start to go down that road and you start feeling better, just like some of the people did on our recent detox, it changes the way your mind thinks about what's possible. It changes the way your mind thinks about what is acceptable, because it's all about getting you to a better place, and getting you to a better place so you can contribute more to the people that are in your life, and the people that you care about, and the people that can just benefit from you being at a higher level. And so, so we thank you for that, Coach. I mean, I think it's awesome to hear your perspective on it, and just to kind of get people thinking outside the box as to what's possible at a different level. So thank you so much for that.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a ton of options out there for people. And, if you're freaking out about the idea of just going to meat only, like, you don't have to, but that doesn't mean you can't try getting closer to it, right? Cut something out, add something in. I would say that if you want to go this and try maybe switching things around a little bit, just focus on getting more than you're getting now when it comes to meat and protein. Maybe don't change anything about any of the other stuff. You want to have your veggies and whatever else you're doing, that's fine, that's awesome. You'll get a benefit in a lot of different areas, which we can talk about. This is a whole nother discussion, why protein is important and how to get more and what it does for you. You'll get a benefit metabolically, energy wise, fat loss wise, just by increasing your protein.
Very cool. This is great. Thank you so much. Tell everybody who's listening where they can find you, and what the easiest way is to connect with you.
Yeah, so my website is theapextrainingsystem.com. You can find me on Instagram at coach_Bronson_keto. And on YouTube, I got a YouTube channel, Muscles Matter with Coach Bronson. And I have a Facebook group. If you're interested in joining, anybody can join. It's Apex Health and Fitness Keto Carnivore.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Bronson. This has been a real pleasure. And everybody who's watching, like, share, comment. Let us know what you think about this. Carnivore's crazy. Carnivore sounds awesome. Whatever you think, we'd love to hear about it. So thank you guys so much. Take care. You guys have a great one.